Hey guys, I wanted to make a new tutorial today how to use AceEd. So I'm going to kind of walk through and do a quick tutorial about how to make a map and put it up on the workshop so you can play it in game, and how to test your maps and all that fun stuff. Alright, so first thing you're going to do when you open up AceEd is you're going to get this prompt, and it's going to ask you where your game directory is. Automatically it should just be in your Steam library, which is this one right here. So it's be C, Steam library, Steam apps, common, fallen aces. Unless your Steam library is somewhere else, that is typically what you want to put, and you can just copy your path from that folder by pressing right click and clicking it and then pasting it in here, or you can just type it out. But it should just pop up automatically, and you should be able to just throw it in there. Okay, now you have the editor open. You have your grid here for your map. You can scroll in and out. A lot of people don't know, or they don't read the documentation. If you want to go full screen, you just press F1. And if you don't want to be full screen, you just press F1 again. That simple. Okay, so let me go over some things. If you go into the global settings here, you have your skybox options. You can set the skybox. There's different types of skyboxes there. You can rotate your skybox around. This is your texture size. It's set to 0.2 by default. You probably want to put that to like 1 or 2. Because otherwise the textures might show up too small and it might throw off your sense of scale. Your fog color and density. This is if you want fog in your maps. Usually you want to do something like 0.02, 0.05, something like that. If you're going to use fog, and you can select different colors, you know, depending on what you're going for. You could ever be red or gray or black. Black if it's like really dark and shadowy and stuff like that. Weather, you could start with rain. You get all that fun stuff. If you go up to editor, you can put your signature on your map if you really want to. Okay, so let's make a sector here. So you go up to your sectors here. A sector is made of vertices, which are these little dots that show up on your grid. And sectors, you have a line called a line def, and at the end of each line def there's a vertice, and then when you drag and click on the grid, it makes a sector. There's your sector. It just looks like a square, nothing too special, square on a grid. But if you press Z, you'll see a little camera icon pop up, right? That's your camera. And you can press Z wherever you want on the grid, and that's where the camera is going to go, right? If you press this button, 3D mode, or press 5, you can see the box you just made, right? So it's a 3D box, This is your sector, and you can drag ceiling up, or you can drag floor down. You can get a pretty good view of your sector here. it's important when you're like clicking on these things, the floor and ceiling, that you have y-axis control height clicked, because if you don't, you can drag all day and night, it's not going to move. But you have that clicked, you'll be able to move it up and down. That goes the same with like things. If you have a thing, we'll talk about things in here in a second. If you have a thing put here and you don't have this clicked, you won't be able to move it up and down. Okay? Alright. So we can drag vertices to make kind of weird shapes. We can add vertices onto a line def like this. We can move it around, make weird funny shapes. You can also select vertices by left clicking them like this. You can hold down shift and you can select all of them. You can also just left click, hold and left click to select all of them. If you select a sector and hold down the shift button and the right mouse button at the same time, you can drag and rotate your sector around like this. It's pretty useful. You don't have to like resize or reshape your stuff, right? You can also delete vertices just like that. So let's make a sector. And we want to go to things, and we're going to add just an object, a blank thing. We're going to put them in the map. We're going to right click that. We're going to go bring up the glossary here, and we're just going to type in Mike. If we go in the 3D mode, there's Mike, right? So we have a room with Mike in it. We can adjust the size a little bit here. There you go. If you wanted to add textures, it's as simple as like right clicking. You go up here, go to wood, and you pick a wood texture, floor. This will be fine. You can rotate it, right? Walls, you can there's a lot of different types of textures you can pick for a wall. We'll go with just go with like a generic brick texture here. This one will work. Fuck it. And you can, do all kinds of wacky stuff with it by just dragging it. If you press scale down here, you can scale it however you want. If you want your textures to be aligned properly, as you can see, they're a little off and it looks bad, it looks like shit. You want to select your wall from left to right like this. You can hold in shift while holding in the left mouse button to make it easier and faster. And then you go down here and you press auto align, and it should auto align all your walls. There you go. And you can also copy and paste, just by pressing Control C. You can go Control V and paste it on the ceiling or the wall here. If you click on floor texture here, you can go to Properties, or you can go to the Global Properties here. You can do different things. You can make it a liquid. It gives it this kind of wiggly, weird looking effect. You can also, if you have something like a glass texture, you pick a glass one here. You go down to properties, you can make it transparent so you can see through it, or you could make it cutout, which is similar. You can also make it so the AI can see through it, or if you want bullets to pass through it, that would be good if you had like a chain link fence. You can see by default, it just has like a black background to it. You can't actually see through it. But if you set the render mode to cutout, you can see through it now. And like I said, you can go here, make it so bullets can pass through. That means enemies can shoot through it, and you can shoot through it, and all that fun stuff. If you ever want to have your texture scroll a certain way, you can set the animation speed to like 2 or something, or any number you want, and it'll scroll like that indefinitely. You can make it go up too. Go to color override if you want your texture, or your wall texture or floor texture, to have a certain color, or like have a shadow or something. You want it to be like green for some reason, you can make it green. See, you can also set the brightness. You can make it really bright for some reason if you really want to do that. I do that a lot with signs and things, like neon signs. Okay, so we have our room. A lot of people are having trouble figuring out how to like add doors and windows. It's really easy. It's not hard at all. You just make another sector like this, and then you make another sector in between them. That's it. You got a door. If you want a window, it's kind of like a door, except you can't walk through it. You just raise it up a little bit, raise it down a little bit. There you go. It's a pretty shitty window, but we're just doing this for fun, so. So if you want to add a door, you're just going to add a door object. Go down here, type in door, put a door down. Make sure it's to size. You don't want it to be too big. You don't want it to be too wide either. Mike's not some big fat guy. I usually put it at, let's see, 2.8 usually. Give a little bit of headroom, you know, or 2.5, 2.6, around there, you know. And then I make the length about 1.5, maybe a little bit wider. Let's see how it looks. So let's pick a door texture. Door. This one will be fine. Yeah, see, that looks good. Obviously, I want to bring this wall in a little bit. Ooh, too narrow. Yeah. We have a nice door to our room, whatever this is going to be. So when you're in the door, you have a bunch of options for the door. So you can make it lockable. And I'll show you how to make a key to make it lockable. You can make it breakable. If you have this selected, it makes the door, you can smash it or shoot it down or break it. Padlock. Sometimes, you know, if you have a door, you might want to have it padlocked on one side. You could have it padlocked. That's good for like gates and things. No mantle. Sometimes you don't want, you know, you don't want Mike to be able to climb up on things to kind of cheese your map, so you can set it to no mantle, so he can't jump up on top of the door. So before I go into extra details about the door, you see here, see how the texture is off? It looks bad. It's amateur. Looks like shit. You don't want that in your maps. You want to clean those up. So from left to right, you just select, holding the left mouse and shift at the same time, and then you click auto align, and look, it looks way better. It doesn't look like crap. Make sure your textures are aligned. Better not see any fucking misaligned textures in your maps, god damn it. I'm joking, of course. There's a ton of misaligned textures in the main game. It just happens. But you know, you want to try to be good about that. So you can click on this door, and under properties we have some different options here. You can also make the door thicker if you wanted. So you can make it really thick. That's like way too thick. Make it too, you know, that's something if you like wanted like a big vault door or something like that, you might want it a little bit thicker. Right now it's fine as is, but you know, it's an option. You can choose how you want the door to open. You can have it swing open, you can have it shrink. Shrinking's more for like curtains and like security gates and stuff like that. And then sliding, you know, if you want like a sliding door, you can have it slide up or down. Your effect set, you know, this is just going to choose what kind of sound you want it. So this is a wooden door, so you want probably a wooden door sound. And most wooden doors in the game I tend to make breakable because they're made of wood. So if you go to settings here, you can choose which way you want the door to open, which is sometimes important. If you got like a tight corner or something, you probably only want it to open one way so it's not so clunky and hard to move through. So yeah. So I'll show you one more thing about doors here. So if you have two different doors here, you might want to have a door that is a double door. And in that case, you might want to have a door like this. But this looks like crap, right? You want to have the door, you know, be symmetrical on each side, but also like different. So you can go up here and press two-sided texture on both of these, and you can see that it's, you know, properly set up. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, it looks better. Go up here. Obviously, you can make it, you know, cut out so you can see through. You can make it so the enemies can see through. I typically, for glass, you know, I don't typically make it so bullets can pass through, because it's already set to breakable, so it'll just, bullets will just break down the door eventually anyway, so just leave it at that. But if you wanted it to pass through the doors, yeah, you could do that. Anyways, let's talk about keys here. So if you come up here, you can select this. You can select the key, right? And under variant, there's like different images. You gotta give it a second. Sometimes things don't pop up. There we go. You can choose what kind of style key you want. You can choose like what color. We'll pick a yellow one for some reason. And you have some options here. You know, you can have an event play when you pick up the key. You could have a key on somebody, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So they drop the key. You can give the key a lock ID. So let's just make it 982. It can be any fucking number you want. And we'll call it whatever this room's gonna be. Let's just say kitchen room key. And that'll show up in the journal as kitchen room key, and you can write a little description for it, for you know, Mike to find, and it can say key to the kitchen. Don't steal cookies or some shit. We can take this lock ID 782 or 982. We can go to the door, and when we go down to this, we set it to lockable, and then we go to settings, and you can see the lock ID is set up now, and you can make it that. You want to hit it locked, and you can make it unlockable from the back, or you can make it unlockable from the front, or you can make it unlockable from both. If it doesn't have a lock ID and you want it to be locked from one side, you can also do that, or you can just have it be locked and it just doesn't have a key, you just can't open it. Or you could make it locked from both sides and it doesn't have a key and you can't open it, but you can make it breakable so you can smash it down. So there's a lot of different options for doors in this game. So let's texture the inside of this real quick. It's not so bland looking. So let's like maybe raise the ceiling up a little bit. They had some pretty high ceilings back in the day. And there's a reason for that, and I'll talk about that briefly. Yeah, back in the day they had high ceilings because there was no air conditioning. So they would need a lot of airspace to move upwards. All the hot air would go up towards the ceiling. So that's why you got tall ceilings in a lot of old buildings. Let's fix these misaligned textures. Okay, so we got our 2 rooms. This is supposed to be a kitchen, so let's make it let's give it a tile floor. So, oh, there we go. That tile looks a little too big, so we can go down here and maybe make that 1.5 for both of these. That looks a little bit more to scale. Now you'll notice, like, if I am selecting this and I'm trying to move it around, it moves very fast. So it's hard to, like, get things aligned, right? It's like, you know. If you hold in control, actually, if you slow down by pressing Q, hold in control, you can move this a lot slower, so it doesn't move around as fast, so it's easier to move in a line, you know. And then you can speed back up by pressing E. Little tip here: if you're gonna have a door like this, you usually want some kind of trim on it. So I usually use some kind of like metal. Yeah, good enough. So let's make a window here. Let's make a breakable window. So we're gonna go down here to our layers. We're gonna make a new layer. And as you can see, if you click on layer 1, everything goes black and you can't see anything. If you look at these little eyeball icons, you can see your first layer, right? So think of it in like a 3D sense, like in 3D view. This layer 1 is going to be on top of this, or it could be below, depending on how you place your thing. So we're going to draw a sector about the length of our window here, and this is going to be our plane of glass that we're going to stick in the window. Okay, so you can see our sector here. It's a sector within a sector, and you can see it's Z fighting down there, right? If you ever want to make 3D objects or furniture in the game, what you do to do that, and this is like the game changer feature of the editor, you grab the floor of your sector, just like you would with a room, and you drag it with a position. You drag it up above the ceiling, and now it's kind of hard to see, but it's a 3D box now. It's not like an inverted box. Here, I'll drag it out so you can see. See? It's like a 3D square. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag our square to be kind of the size of the window. We're also going to fucking align these textures. You're going to be doing that a lot. I'm sorry. This is the way it is. Wish there was a better way. And you're going to select this, and then, you know, we're just going to throw a glass texture on there. Glass. We'll set that to cut out. Right? And you want to set this to cutout because if you set it to transparent, it might cause some issues where you can like see through walls and stuff. So just stick to cutout. Okay, so we have our window pane in the window, right? You can see through it into the kitchen. So what we're gonna do here now is we're gonna place an object. And we're gonna make it a breakable geometry object. And we're gonna make a tag. We're gonna go down here to tags and make a new tag called breakable window. And we're going to go to our sector. We're going to select it. We're going to go down to breakable geometry, and we're going to make that tag 1. So it's the same as your breakable geometry thing, right? So then we're going to toggle this. Breakable with damage, and you can set the amount of hit points. 0, it'll just break instantly. You know, if you put it at like 500 or something, it might take a couple hits. You can also have it change the texture depending if it's something specific that has a texture to change to, but don't worry about that too much. But your window should work when it's hit with any kind of object or bullet or anything that causes damage. It should smash that and make glass shatter everywhere. So I told you I was going to tell you how to make put a key in a guy. So we'll just put a goon here. It's your average goon, minding his own business. Blair witching in the wall. We're gonna call this guy, we're gonna give him a tag and call him stupid, not as cool as Gianni Goon. I'm gonna set his thing to 2, right? And then this key, we're gonna go to prop. And then we're going to have inside tagged entity, and we're going to set that to 2. 2 being the same as the goon we just put down. So this key will now be in this goon. He'll have it on his person, and you can pickpocket it off him, or you can just beat the shit out of him, and he'll drop it when he's either dead or knocked out. So that's how you add keys into things. You can also have a key in like say like a barrel, or some other breakable thing. In which case you would just do the same thing. You would just put wood barrel. You just set the tag to wooden barrel, and then instead of the goon, you'd have it in the wooden barrel. And then when you smash this wooden barrel, it'll have the key, right? All right. So some people wanted to know how to make like furniture. So we'll make a quick, easy table here. So like I said before, you're just gonna make a sector like you did before. And it'll be Z fighting because it's like, you know, it's not inverted yet. Also, I should note that when you are putting down sectors, don't put a sector within a sector like this, because this is what's going to happen. It's just if you want a sector in a sector, you'll use the cutout tool, and I'll show you how to use that in a bit. But so we just want to drag our thing like this. This will be like the table part of the table. And then here's, I'll show you how to use the cutout tool while also explaining how to make a table here. So whenever you want to have some kind of shape within your sector that is a different height or something, or steps or something like that, you want to go to the cut tool up here, and then you want to cut from left to right, clockwise like this, always clockwise. And you cut your shape out, right? And these will be our chair legs. So do. And if you ever mess anything up, you can just press page up, and it's basically Control Z, and undoes anything you might mess up while making a map. Sorry, my voice is a little rough today. So we're gonna drag this down. And then we're gonna select these chair legs, or these table legs. Little thick. Make those a little bit skinnier. Yeah, there we go. And I should keep in mind, a good tip, if you ever, the scale's kind of weird and hard to see in game and stuff like that, and when you're mapping, so you always want to like maybe put down like a civilian guy while you're mapping. You can always delete him later. Just have a little creepy guy watching you. And the reason for that is you can kind of put them next to things, pieces of furniture, to see if it's like the correct scale. And you know, this is up to his waist, so it should be like a good scale for a table. But sometimes if you don't do that, you might be making like huge, humongous bookshelves and giant chairs and stuff that are way too big, and they look silly when other like enemies and stuff are around them. So typically, you always want to go a little bit smaller than you think you might. So we're going to select our table here, and something that I kind of always do with a lot of stuff in Aces, any kind of like edges or anything like that, I always make black, because it kind of gives that outline look like it's, I don't know, drawn or something, that like fake cell shaded kind of look. And then the rest we'll just make like a wood texture. Yeah, you can just hold in shift and select all of these. You don't have to click them all one by one. Let's go with dirty bar top. It's a little too big. Let's make that maybe 1. Yeah, that looks good. And then, I don't know why it didn't fill in the legs and stuff. There we go. See? Got a table. And you can put like a, click this, you can see the next layer. Put a chair down. There you go. You got a chair. And then we'll put a light down for shits and giggles. Ceiling lamp. You can choose what kind of lamps you want. There you go. Oh yeah, and when you place these, again, you wanna click this, because otherwise you won't be able to drag it up and down. But also go in the properties and have this offset from the ceiling. Otherwise, if you don't do that, when you try to break it, it acts funky and it won't break properly. So there you go. And I'll show you how to make a simple light switch. This isn't going to work with multiple lights. That's a bit more complicated. But I'll show you how to make a light switch and have that turn off and on and stuff like that. Well, we'll get to that in a second. So let's dim this room a little bit. Let's make it a little bit darker so we can mess with the lighting a little bit. Because Fallen Aces is all about dark shadows and dark rooms and all that fun stuff. So we can go over here and we can make the room any kind of color we want. Sometimes when I'm doing like outdoor areas or kind of dark, gloomy areas, I put a little bit of blue in it just to kind of give it that blue tint, like a bluish gray, kind of right about there. And it doesn't look dark yet, but if I press F, you can turn on lights off and on. You can kind of see what everything looks like. And I should note that if you let's make a by selecting the line here, line tool here, we'll make a little corner here like this, and you can see it changed my wall texture, and that'll happen if you kind of cut into your sector. What we're going to do over here is we're going to make this black. Now, if your lighting is completely black like this, you'll be able to, Mike will be able to hide in it and not be seen. And obviously, like, the goons won't be able to see you, and if you hide bodies in the dark, they won't be able to see and wake people up. So it's pretty useful if you're making like a stealthy kind of map. You can you can do that, have lots of cool shadows and stuff. You can also use 3D lighting, which I'm about to show you how to do. So you go here, and you're going to go to point light, which is under lighting. You're going to put a point light down. Here's your point light. I'm going to raise it up. You're going to make it some color, make it kind of like an orangey color. And then I usually make the radius about 10 or 20 depending on how intense it is. You can also make it really bright with this, or how many steps you want, which is like how much like shading is in between the light source and like shadow. So we have that placed there. Notice it hasn't made any difference, but if you go up here and you click point lights, you can kind of see a preview of what your lighting might be like. And then if you press refresh shadows here, you can kind of see what your 3D shadows are going to look like. So now we need a light switch for this light, right? So we're going to go to light switch 5. Now when you put a wall decal on, you got to make sure it's on the wall, not the floor, because it won't stick. And you want to make sure it's facing in the direction of the wall. As you can see, the arrow's pointing this way, and it has to be close to the wall. Also to attach. So it's attached to the wall. And we want to make it a switch. And there's different options here, right? We're going to come back to that in a second. So if you go to point light here, you have it enable on, we'll just say light switch on. I'll make the disable on light switch off. Okay. And you can make it just start disabled if you'd like it to start off instead of on. And then you go over here, and then the event switch on, event switch off. You can have it start on if you want, and this will turn this light on and off. It's as simple as that. Now if you're doing it with multiple lights, they're all going to turn off if they all have that same tag. I might do a separate tutorial on how to do multiple lights, but it's a pain in the butt. Okay, so I think the final thing I'm going to show off in this tutorial is how to add notes. Some people wanted to know how to add notes. So you go down here, you go to note, you have a note decal, and like before with the switch, it's set to wall. You wanted to set it to floor, so it sticks to the floor instead of the wall. You're gonna choose the angle, and you can choose the variant. There's different there's like a letter and like a book. I'll make it a letter, and then we're also gonna have a note. It's just called note. I'm gonna put the note next to that. Right? So you're going to make this note usable, and then the event on use is going to be read stupid note. So when you use this, it's going to run this script of like reading your note, and I'll have to go outside the game here, but when you make a note, you're going to make it as a text file and save it in your notes folder in your episodes thingy-majiggy here. And then you're going to make the path in your note that text file, and then you're going to make it show on the event of read stupid note. So then you can have a note that people can read, and it'll say the dumb shit that you put in there. Yeah. Okay. So let me talk about saving your maps, because people are having a lot of trouble with this. It's not hard. It's not difficult at all. Once you get the hang of it, you'll be saving and uploading maps like crazy. So when you want to save a map, you go to save. You go to your Fallen Aces data folder, which is in your Fallen Aces directory, Aces data. Then you go to episodes. Go to your episode folders. Okay, this is where all your episodes are saved at. You're gonna make a new folder. And you're going to name it whatever you're going to make your episode called. It could be called Fun Time Kitchen Man. It should be 2 words. Okay, Fun Time Kitchen Man. You're going to click on that. You're going to make a new folder called Fun Time Kitchen Man again. And in that folder, that's where you're going to save your file. And you're going to name it, you know, Fun Time Kitchen Man, or you could name it whatever you want. Let's just call it Kitchen Man for short. And you're going to save it in there. And it's saved. You're going to have to do some setup, but your map is saved in there. So if you need to open it up, you can go to load and just you go in Fun Time Kitchen Man and it'll be there, and you can load up your thing. It is very important that you test your map in game before you upload it to Steam, obviously, because you don't want to open up you don't want to upload a broken map that nobody can play. You know, you should definitely test to see if everything's working and making sure your map is properly set up. Okay, so you're going to have your episode folder. It's going to be like this. You're going to have your Fun Time Kitchen Man in your episodes folder. And it should be set up like this. You'll have your episode info file, which will look just like this, Fun Time Kitchen Man. It'll have your priority. Priority is based on which order you want your levels to go in the episode. So if it has priority 0, it'll become first. If you have other levels in your episode, you know, like level 1, level 2, you know, you'll put that there. You're gonna have your poster. You can put any kind of PNG in there. I just made a quick one, Fun Time Kitchen Man. It could be a JPEG or PNG or whatever. You just throw that in there. Just make sure you name it poster, and it will show up. So you have your episode info poster, and then you have your map folder. So let's go in your map folder. You can see we have a loading screen image that I just drew like a shitty stove with some lines coming off of it. That'll be the loading screen background, and we have we actually don't need this poster in here. You just want to have your load screen. Okay, if you go in your episodes folder, you'll see our Funtime Kitchen Man folder, and it'll be set up just like this. You'll have your episode folder, and then you'll have your map folder. In your episode folder, you're going to have your episode info and your poster. Your poster is going to be what you're going to use to select your map in the episode select screen. I just made a PNG and threw it in there. This is Funtime Kitchen Man, and I had it as a PNG. You have to save it as poster, otherwise it won't show up. You have your episode info, title Funtime Kitchen Man, priority 0. You can make the priority lower or higher based on this. So in Funtime Kitchen Man, the map folder, we have our map file right here called Kitchen Man. It has all your map info, right? You have your loading screen, which is just, I made a stove with some lines on it, and this will show up as your loading screen background. You have your chapter info. You have your title, Funtime Kitchen Man. That's what's gonna show up in your loading screen. You have your over title text. You could put chapter 1 here, or whatever you want. I just put yum yum yum. Your order. This will choose the order of which one of your maps in this episode will play first. So if you have multiple maps in an episode, if it's order 1, it'll play 1, and your next chapter will be 2, so it'll go to 2 if you beat 1. You can set your loading screen ambience here and choose a sound from an audio pool. It will play different sounds. Loading screen music, you can choose from different numbers here, and it'll play background music. You don't have to have these. You can delete them if you don't want any sound. World file name, Kitchen Man, it should be the same as your map file. So if it is Choo Choo Man Train Yard, that's the name of your map file, then it should be Choo Choo Man Train Yard.txt. And make sure you have your quotation there. Always unlocked. Sometimes if you have other maps in your episode, you might want them to be locked and not available until you beat the first map in your episode. So you'd set that to false if there were other maps, or you could have them all be available. That's that option. This is optional. Description text. This will show up in your load screen. You could have it be anything you want. I just put time for another late night kitchen run. Again, this is optional. Same with this. Faction name. You can name your factions. If you wanted faction 0 to be kitchen staff, you can set them as that, and then you have your faction number here. If you faction 3, whatever. And you can set the faction color to whatever you want. So if you wanted faction 2 to be red or whatever, and you can do that again. Say you wanted other factions, set faction 1, faction 2, purple guys, and you make them purple, right? But that's unnecessary, so we'll just save your chapter info like that. Okay, so with all that said and done, your folder should be set up like this in your episodes folder, and if it is like this, it should show up in your episode directory. If you don't follow these steps, then it's probably not going to show up. Alright, so we're going to boot up Steam here. And then when you go to play, you should be able to test your map. Your map should show up right here. right? Fun Time Kitchen Man, let's click on it. And choose difficulty. As you can see, we got our stuff here.
This cat makes me look handsome.
And if you remember, we put the key in this barrel, so when we break it, there we go. It should unlock the door. We can break our glass too. We can read our notes from our note folder that we set up. So that's it. I mean, that's all you need to get your map working. I'm gonna upload this to the workshop as a tutorial map that people can mess around with and use it as an example. I might make more of these, I'm not sure, but hopefully this is a good guide and it gets people started on making their own maps. So if you go to your Steam workshop content folder, you can make a new folder called Kitchen Man mod, and then you can paste your thing in there, right? Then we're going to launch the lead pipe mod uploading tool. And what we're going to do is set up our mod directory. And we're just going to go to our workshop file that we just made. Kitchen Man mod, select that. We're going to click here. It might not show a cursor, but if we click here, you can type in things. So we can just go Fun Time Kitchen Man example mod. We can put our description down here. Example map. Down here we can make a description. AceEd, okay. Okay, so we added our description here. We'll need a picture. We can use just the poster I made, but you can use any image you want. And we have tags here. Levels, textures, sounds. We'll just select levels because we didn't add any custom textures or sounds. Okay. We're going to want to save our file is Funtime Kitchen Man mod, and we can set this to public or friends only or private. We'll just set it to public. And it'll say uploading here on the side, and it says mod successfully uploaded. And it might take a second to show up. Okay, now when we go to select episode, you can see that there are all these fan-made maps. Here's the one that we made, Fun Time Kitchen Man. You can see it, it pops up. Click on it, and it should load right up if you follow the steps correctly. There we go.
Boy, do I miss Ma's cooking.
Hey, thanks for coming to the party.
There's the key. Open the door.
I'm getting the police!